Damn good coffee. And hot.
Yeah, it's pretty good coffee. And it's hot. Good morning, folks. It is June 6th, Monday, June 6th, 2022. Hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you are. Here in New York, where I am, it seems to be a beautiful late spring, early summer day out. And looking forward to a great day to be alive, except for a little bit of back pain. No, a lot of back pain. Threw my back out yesterday. Don't really know exactly how. I was carrying some equipment and stuff, but it doesn't really matter how when you have a back problem, lower back problem. You just have to wait it out. Wait it out. So that's my plan: is waiting out um, the pain in the lower back. It is a little bit excruciating just to be sitting here and talking to you folks. But good morning. Hope you're having a wonderful day where you are. We are part of the governor's comedy club podcast. Today we have a comedian on at 10 a.m. by the name of Gotham Sharma from Brooklyn, New York, and seems to be a relatively newcomer to the game of stand-up comedy, but we'll learn all about what he's up to and get some insight into his career then at 10 a.m. Today is D-Day, and I'm going to probably want to talk a little bit about that because it's getting very little mention. I think it was 78 years ago, 1944, June 6, 1944, marked the turning point of World War II. It is still kind of relevant, don't you think? Even though it's that long ago, almost 80 years ago, 78 years ago today. I want to talk about that. As I mentioned, we're part of the Governor's Comedy Club radio podcast network. And so I like to at least let people know what's going on at Governor's Comedy Clubs here on Long Island. And I'm going to do that right now. We'll find out who's there this week. Just give me one moment to click some buttons and do some technical nonsense back here, and we see the website now. Governor's Main Room is in Division at 90 Division Avenue in Levittown, New York. This week, June 10th, Eric Haft is in the Giggle Room. That's a special event. Eric, let me see here. Born and raised in New York and a co-founder of Have to Laugh, Eric Haft has appeared in such classic venues as Borgata in Atlantic City, Caroline's on Broadway, Stand Up New York, Broadway Comedy Club, Governor's Comedy Clubs, and is a regular touring act with the Long Island Comedy Festival. His unique blend of comedy and theater, as well as a take on everyday life, has made him one of the country's most sought-after personalities in the industry. The doors open at 6, and general admission is $22. You buy it now. Pre-show dinner package is $61. That's June 10th. That's this Friday. Punky Johnson is a special event. She'll be also June 10th and 11th. It doesn't say. I guess she's still in the main. Oh, in the main room. Eric Haft is in the Giggle Room. Punky Johnson is in the main room. Punky Johnson is a comedian and writer from New Orleans, Louisiana, who joined the cast of Saturday Night Live back in 2020. Past credits include Space Force, Black Lady Sketch Show, Bill Burr Presents, The Ringers. Punky has a new face. Was a new face, and just for last festival in 2019, she's a proud paid regular at the world famous Comedy Store in Hollywood. So she'll be there Friday and Saturday this week in the main room. Doors open. Show is at 8 p.m. on Friday, 7 p.m. on Saturday. And June 11th, Charlie Bouquet and Friends is in the Giggle Room. That's Saturday night. That's another special event. So that's what's at the main room in Levittown this weekend. Now, in the Giggle Room, we just covered the Giggle Room with all of that stuff. So Governor's Patio, let's see what we got going on there. I don't know if there's anything going on there this weekend. No, I don't see anything going on the patio this weekend. Sorry about that. The brokerage in Belmore. Oh, I'm in like a lot of pain here. The back is really starting to get to me. Long Island, the Great Long Island Laugh Off special event. That's Thursday uh, at the brokerage in Belmore. The Great Long Island Laugh Off competition of 2022, opening round, the longest running and most prestigious comedy contest on Long Island, returns for another great year of intense competition to see who is Long Island's funniest new talent. It's always a great night of fun and laughs, featuring a thrill of victory and the agony of defeat as we see who will advance to round two of this annual event. Come and root for your favorites and find a new favorite you've never seen before. Uh, Doors open at 6 p.m. Show starts at 7:30 p.m. It's $15 general admission. That's the Great Long Island Laugh Off round one. That's Thursday night. On Friday, the brokerage presents Comedy Night Live special event. I don't know what that means. Let's find out. I don't know who it is. I can't see. The poster is way too small. I am sorry about that. Oh, here we go. Francis Caputo, Bobby Bannon, and Carrie Caravas are this week's special event brokerage events, Comedy Night special, Comedy Night Live. And that's it at the brokerage this weekend. And then at McGuire's in Belmore, I don't know, this is a slow time for comedy clubs generally here on Long Island. This time of year, everybody's outdoors, theaters, outdoor shows, and stuff like that. All-Star Comedy Show on Thursday night, Stars of Tomorrow, Emerging Talent Show on Friday night, and Sunday Night Funnies. Obviously on Sunday night. It wouldn't be called Sunday Night Funnies if it was on Saturday night, would it? Anyway. Good to see you folks here. Good to have you here. Thanks for being here. I hope you will patronize Gov's Comedy Club and certainly check out their website because things change pretty quickly over there and they add shows on a regular basis. I can remove this. Anyway, that's what's going on at Gov's. How was your weekend, folks? I had an unusual weekend. Fun gigs, 2 outdoor gigs this weekend, afternoonish, evening gigs. The Saturday gig was 3 to 7, and it was at the Paradise Saloon here on Long Island in West Islip, New York. And it was a memorial of sorts for a longtime bartender who was there and passed away. I don't know all that recently. Anyway, it's just a celebration of her life. But it was also open to the public. And the bar, Paradise Saloon, it looks like a house. It's like a house on a business kind of street, but it definitely looks like an old home. And then the backyard area, it seems like a backyard for your regular home backyard. And we were playing on a stage in the back. Great club, great atmosphere, great people, but a little bit different. And it was a fun day with the full band. And then leaving, I have a pretty long drive to all the gigs that I have. And on my drive home, I got a little bit of a traffic jam. Hard to see what's happening up ahead at the traffic jam. When I got to what was causing the jam, if you're not familiar with the Long Island Expressway, Long Island Expressway is a 3-lane highway that goes from um, the east end of Long Island all the way into New York City and then back to East End. And I'm driving out to the East End. On that side of the road, when we got to the traffic jam, I looked over and there is a car 30 or possibly 40 feet up in a tree, lodged up in a tree. And as I was getting there, the ambulance was just pulling away with whoever was maybe inside, maybe thrown from the vehicle. I don't know. Not sure if they were dead or alive, but very odd to see. And I just thought about what it would take for that car to end up in that tree like that. It had to be going, in my estimation, over 100 miles an hour to fly because the road comes to an end. There's a ditch. It goes down, and the tree is in the ditch. So it was really only 10 feet higher than the road level, but it still had to take off and rise from the road level about 10 feet higher than the road level to get wedged up in that tree. And so it had to be going really fast. Now, what would have caused it to veer off the road like that at that speed? Possibly they were racing, probably just really in a hurry, in crazy hurry, and something happened causing them to react, and they just went flying. I don't know what happened, but I thought, well, this has got to end up on the news. You don't see a car up in a tree that high. It wasn't a low tree. It was again 30 or 40 feet up into a tree. You don't see that every day. Not covered on the news. I've been watching my local news for 2 days since. Nothing about it. Very strange to me, because that's not an odd enough story to kind of grab some news desk editor's attention. I don't know what is. Anyway, it's just a very weird thing. And there was another car involved with well, I'd probably say several thousand feet behind that was off the road, looked to have been in some kind of accident. So I'm trying to piece together what might have happened. Certainly hope the guy's all right, or woman, whoever was driving, but it's hard for me to believe it was totally an innocent thing. Because again, they had to be driving over 100 miles an hour. I think well over 100 miles an hour to be able to sustain that kind of flight. Because it had to fly, again, probably about 30 feet off the road, to the south of the road before landing in the tree. So I don't know how it got there, and it's a very curious thing, and the news hasn't covered it at all. And I'm just curious about that because having seen it, and I could not take a picture. Okay, that would be really crude. Uh, but I felt like taking a picture. Anyway, so that was the Sunday gig, and then yesterday, um, Kiara and I had a duo show in Freeport, New York. Now, Freeport used to be um, basically where the Rockin' 45s were born. We gigged there 3 times a week minimum for 7 years straight at one point, and then when I left the band there for a short time, they kept playing there probably 2 nights a week. And we had a very big and loyal following in Freeport, but we stopped playing there, I want to say 10 years ago now, because we broke the mile. We broke the area. Nautical Mile was where we cut our teeth. And because of us breaking curfew so many times and driving the residential area a little bit nuts, they instituted decibel laws where um, police would come around with decibel meters and fine bands if they were too loud. And by too loud, um, they meant 86 decibels. Now, if you're hearing my voice right now, my speaking level right now is about 80 plus decibels, somewhere in that. So it wasn't much louder than I'm speaking right now. So if you could be heard from the street this loud, and I don't know how loud you have your speakers or headphones cranked up, but as loud as it's coming out of my vocal cords right now in my mouth, uh, basically you were breaking the law, and you would get fined for that. So it got to be such a hassle. We'd have to have lookers watching for police and decibel meter stuff and telling the band to turn down when they came. Became such a maintenance issue for the band that we decided to stop playing there. So we haven't played there in like 10 years, but place has opened up off the mile, and it's a nice place, and we decided to go there. And it's a fun place. Yesterday we played. The atmosphere was great, and saw some old friends, a few old friends from the Nautical Mile. That, hey, whatever happened to you guys? And I had to go explain exactly what happened. And we talk a lot about recapturing because they were some really magical times for us. Great times to be alive, and some really, really memorable nights, parties, concerts, all that kind of stuff. But you can't go back, folks. You can't relive the past. You can never, and it's kind of nostalgic to think about, but you can't go back. You can't recreate what is in the past, and you never can. So that's a part of our life was just relinquished to memory right now, and I guess forever until we all pass. So it's kind of sad, but life moves on. Everything changes, right? I want to talk a little bit about D-Day because it's not getting any press, which is odd. It always has, and I don't think it should fade from our minds the importance of what happened 78 years ago today. D-Day was an amphibious attack. Well, I guess you can call it an invasion of land that was taken by Germany and held the south of France, Normandy, five beaches in particular by many forces in the United States, Australia, Canada, England. Am I leaving one out? No, I think that's it. I think those are the countries involved. I should find this out. Um, but it was the turning point of World War II, and it changed the course of the war, and definitely was the start of the end for Nazi Germany in World War II. A couple of facts here: in Canada, played a crucial part in this, and they don't get enough. And when we see all the war movies and all this stuff, it's always about the USA. USA is the heroes. And listen, we made a major contribution, not belittling the United States contribution at all, but Canada doesn't get enough respect for their contribution on D-Day. They actually took the most real estate on that. On it wasn't just one day; it was actually 5 days. It took to, I believe, it was the 11th by the time all five beaches had been secured by the Allies. And Canada actually ended up taking the biggest beach, fought the hardest battles, and were instrumental in making the whole thing a success. You won't hear that in any of the movies or any of the retelling of World War II. Canada's really vital role in what turned out to be the turning point of World War II. Other parts of it that you don't might not know that it was years in planning. It wasn't just something that Roosevelt and Churchill came up with, like spur of the moment. Let's do this. This was actually going on for more than 2 years. The planning of this taking back the south of France, and it was again a huge operation, the biggest amphibious landing in the history of military conflict in the world, and a lot of people lost their lives. And the insanity of what the troops, all of them, regardless of where they were from, doesn't matter if you're from Canada, USA, it doesn't matter. None of that matters. The horror of what those young men were facing. Listen, they're jumping out of boats to take a beach that is fortified with another country's military and getting bombed as they get off the boats, getting some of them dying the second they took a step off the boat, some of them dying on the boats. Just horror. But they just kept moving forward. Nothing was stopping them. Yeah. Would we have that kind of fortitude today? Question yourself about that. Could we put together an operation like D-Day in modern times? I doubt it. I doubt it. Unless you gotta really believe in the cause. And I think not just Americans. I think all those countries that I mentioned We've become so jaded, so not trusting anything that you're not going to sell the cause to the level that you need to have that kind of commitment to storm a beach like that. Um, as you're seeing your best friends just get blown apart as they step off the boat and keep going for days and days, fighting in cold. You figure June 6th, it's not that cold out, right? But listen, the waters in the south of France, in the Atlantic, pretty friggin' cold this time of year, no matter what. And the weather was not good that whole week. Um, So, and the weather should maybe that you think the weather should be the least of it, but it wasn't supposed to start on June 6th. It was supposed to start, I believe, on June 1st. They had days of bad weather, that terrible weather that postponed the thing, which probably helped to catch the Germans off guard. So it's important that we remember D-Day. Funny thing is D-Day, the D in D-Day stands for absolutely nothing. I don't know why we call it D-Day. We didn't the D, unlike VE Day, which is victory, VE Day, which is victory in Europe, or VJ Day, which is victory in Japan. The D in D Day isn't short for departure or decision or anything like that. As early as World War One, the U.S. Military used the term D-Day to designate the launch date of a mission. One reason was to keep the actual date out of the hands of spies. Another was to serve as a placeholder until the actual date was chosen. They chose. They also used H hour for a specific time of the launch. So D-Day means absolutely nothing. But it was, again, so important to the world that we live in today. And we, we, you know, we just passed Memorial Day, where people didn't get, a lot of people. And am I being too much of a stickler for details when I say the importance and the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day is important for people to recognize? It's also important for people to recognize the significance of things like D-Day. Without that, you people in the UK might be speaking German today if it were not for that day 78 years ago today. So it's important to remember. It's also important to remember for this reason. Our history is not really being recognized and taught at all, and it's pathetically on display on social media. Yesterday, my friend Dave Sidwell, who's been on this program twice, actually it wasn't yesterday, 2 days ago, he posted this meme that says, I saw a movie where only the military and police had guns. It was called Schindler's List. And I got on my high horse on that because, first of all, it's a ridiculous meme. And we're better than memes. And memes are meant to incite and manipulate us into a position. So I just got on them, basically, you're better than that. It's a ridiculous meme. And post well-reasoned thoughts, not somebody else's ridiculous or stupid attempt to get you to commit to their ideology, their position put on a political issue, and that's exactly what that was. Now, I didn't want to make it about the idea of gun control because my outrage or my anger at the moment was, you know what? You're not even thinking for yourself. You're just taking something some idiot created without much thought and passing that on as your own thought. So people will agree with you. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah. Fuck you, stupid. And I'm not talking to Dave. I'm not talking to Dave about being through. I'm talking about the stupid idiots who created it and high five each other over it. The point of this thing is again, it says, I saw a movie once where only the police and military had guns. It was called Schindler's List. Well, that suggests that arming the populace of Germany would have stopped World War II, would have stopped the Holocaust. You know what? You're not thinking. If you believe that, you're not thinking. And again, I don't want to make this about gun control because that's a hot button issue in America, and we could talk about that sometime. And we have been talking about that a lot lately. But you discount the fact that if the German people had guns, they were fully in support of the Nazi uh, government at the time. The Nazis took control with the full support of the people and the populace. And what they did with the Holocaust also had majority support. So if the people had guns, nobody was going to take them up against the Nazis anyway. So it would have happened anyway. Now, the idea that a bunch of yahoos with guns can take on a nation, their own nation, not an invading nation, not like the Vietnamese did with America when we were part of that. The North Vietnamese um, were able to kind of frustrate America and make it really, really difficult. And then we talked about that in the nature of what it takes to actually occupy a foreign land. And that's a whole different story. But this is the point they're trying to make is their own country is the aggressor here, and you need the guns to defend against your own country, which is just fucking stupid. Plain and simple. To think that a bunch of yahoos in the woods somewhere are going to stop a true aggressive act of the military of their own country is just idiotic, plain and simple. And they can try to make all the because I saw a documentary once where a couple of hundred people with thousands of guns thought they could stop the United States military from coming in. It was called Waco. That's how it ends. You, and somebody brought up Clive and Bundy. Well, armed standoffs can work. No, the government made a conscious decision not to go full aggressive at that. Anytime the United States made the decision to send tanks in there, that would have been over. They didn't want the political fallout of that. So to say that, with enough guns, you can hold off the United States military. Don't be fucking stupid. Don't show the world how fucking stupid you are. Another guy who, pretty illiterate fucking idiot, um, comes back, well, what about the American Revolution? The American Revolution was fought with bayonets mostly, muskets that fired a lead ball once and it took too long to reload it. So you had to fight with the bayonet most of the time. And we didn't win that war with guns or tactical military. We won the revolution, by wearing the British resolve to keep a country that really wasn't worth it for them. Washington's greatest military strategy was running away. And the guy says, "Hey, where'd you learn your American history from, at yo? At yo? I learned it in a place that won't accept imbeciles that say things like at yo. Oh, you trying to act smart now? Trying. No, I'm not trying to act smart, but it's not an act. I'm at least somewhat educated and have studied what I'm talking about before I just go talking about it. The American Revolution was largely an effort of running away from battles. Now, we got in some battles, and again, the French were on our side, and Native Americans, to a large degree, were on our side, and it wasn't fought as a tactical gun battle. Guns did not make the difference. The result would have been the same if the colonials had no guns whatsoever. It still would have been the same because the strategy was wearing down the British government. But you see these kind of imbeciles with my entire education comes from Facebook memes. Pathetic. So that's why I think it's important for us to remember things like today, D-Day, where the Allies, not just America, Canada, the UK, Australia, got together to stand up against evil. We can't let it go forgotten, because there's no coverage on this in the mainstream media or any media, not even on social media today. Nobody is talking about remembering. And we just had Memorial Day. And Memorial Day wasn't about remembering either. It was about parties and hot dogs and hamburgers and beer and outdoor and good times. When evil, like we faced in World War II, raises its head, you can't, you just can't allow it to be forgotten. 78 years ago is not that long ago to allow something like that to be forgotten. So I urge everybody to really learn something about what happened on D-Day, um, and honor it. Honor those, God, the courage that it took, the fortitude, the commitment to stand up to evil. 18, 19-year-old kids on the boats watching their best friends get blown apart and still willing to put up the fight for 5 days in frigid, really rough waters, coming off boats into a land where they're getting picked off like crazy, and just keep moving forward. It's about stopping evil in its tracks. Even if I have to give my life, even if I'm watching all my best friends give their lives and get slaughtered, to keep going. We don't have that kind of commitment and resolve anymore because we don't trust anything anymore. And we can't get committed to fighting evil if we can't agree on what evil is. I know I'm on a soapbox here, but it is D-Day, and it is important to remember these things. So that's all I'm going to say about that. My friend Kiara is in the back. I'm going to bring her in now. Again, Gotham Sharma, comedian from Brooklyn, will be joining me at 10 a.m. today, and we'll learn about his career. It seems like he's another comedian who's been in it for a very short time. I don't know that for a fact. He seems to be. I know his birth date, so I can say he's not. He's not a spring chicken. He's 42 years old, so. Sometimes people are starting comedy later in life, but it doesn't seem like he's been around all that long. But we'll find out at 10 a.m. when he's here. Right now, it's time for the happy 3-4 hour segment. No, get on that side. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
My back hurts really, really bad. I'm in
Yeah.
a lot of pain. My lower back, I threw it out. It got worse because driving doesn't do it well. And it was when I left, and then left the gig yesterday, and then got even worse on the way home, and then didn't sleep well, and now it's all really tight, and I'm in a lot of pain, so I'm complaining about it.
Mm.
Took a lot of pills too this morning, some anti-inflammatories, a bunch of Tylenol, and a whole bunch of stuff, so I'm a little loopy too. Did you enjoy yourself
Wow.
today at all?
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, I like that place except for the bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The gnats were crazy at the end. I mean, they were everywhere. I don't know
yeah.
how the people were sitting there eating dinner.
Well, they had those little candles, those citronella or whatever it was, on the tables. Could have used a lot more of those.
Yeah.
Could have used some warning about that too. I mean, bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's a slow Monday for me. I'm actually, even though I got off to a later start today, thinking I'm usually too tired at 8:30 to really get into it. And then I started at 9 today, and I was even more tired than I was last week when I was starting at 8:30. But
Mm.
um, your dad and what's her name? Pam? Is that her name?
Pamela.
Pamela. Uh, they were good to have there, and
Yeah.
appreciated seeing them there. So today's D-Day. Were you aware that today is D-Day?
No, I wasn't actually. And usually Google will have something, and they chose to make ignore D-Day, and the background of Google is some kind of coffee bean. I'm
Oh,
looking at it
you
now.
sound really sniffly. We got allergies big time this morning.
I got allergies. Yeah, my back hurts too. Actually, those stools. I need to bring like some kind of grandma pillow next time. They hurt too. Because we were sitting on the stools for 4 hours, but it's better than standing for 4 hours.
Does your ass hurt?
Yeah, my ass, my back, my legs, and from the gig the day before too.
Well, the day before you were standing the whole time.
Yeah, we were standing for 4 hours then, and then sitting for 4 hours yesterday, and so
yeah. Standing is worse for me because I have really bad posture, and I tend to lean one way, and my hip gets overextended. And so after 4 hours, I always have to deal with hip problems and all that stuff. But I think I did something to my back loading in yesterday, and then dealt with that sitting there all day. And that's not good for your lower back, sitting on those stools like that. And then the drive, 2-hour drive or whatever it is. That thing that I saw on Saturday on the way home with the car in the tree, not on the news at all. I thought that's really like, I would expect that's newsworthy. How does a car end up in a tree? It had to be flying to get up in the tree.
You can't find it anywhere? What town was it in?
You know what? It was like
it was on the
probably
LIE?
probably like around Yaphank, that area.
Let's see.
Exit 67 or 66 or something like that.
Wow.
Where
That's
it gets really
crazy.
wooded. Yeah. Nothing on any news source at all. But yeah, you would think they would at least mention it. Now, one thing that is in the news locally, 2 different schools have arrested, 2 kids got arrested, different school districts, for threatening to shoot up schools here.
Yeah. I heard it was, you said 2. I heard it was 3 different schools.
Maybe it was. I only saw 2. That could be. But, I think probably these kids were not intending to do it. They're just trying to be funny or stupid on social media and saying they're going to do this stuff, because it's a thing that they're hearing on the news or whatever. But I do think there's human beings are and stupid ideas are contagious. So it goes from one idiot to the next, and then it's like the thing to do. I don't think these kids were necessarily going to go shoot up schools, but I do think it's good that they were reported and arrested and preventative measures. You can't just ignore it now, especially with all the stuff that's going on. But the number of them is really shocking and alarming, and I don't know how anybody could be a parent and send their kid to school these days. I just, how can you put your kid on a school bus?
Nope.
Like, I would quit my job. I would quit my job if I had kids.
That's why I homeschool.
I know.
Exactly why. I mean, it started with masking them and putting them behind plexiglass and treating them like prisoners, where they weren't allowed to make contact with one another, especially my daughter in preschool, when contact and friendship is important for social and emotional development.
That was with the COVID stuff.
Yeah. And I said, this is mind control. This is torture, and they're not going to be subjected to that. The masks were lifted, and now there's this. So
what? But I didn't know about this plexiglass stuff. What was that?
Yeah.
They put up plexiglass between the seats or something?
Every desk had plexiglass in my daughter's classroom. And then the teacher would walk around with plexiglass on wheels through the classroom. And then if they took their mask down, they were yelled at, they were scolded. My daughter couldn't even have a drink of water. So that wasn't happening. So
wow.
I was glad that I was let go from my job for non-compliance. And so I dedicated my life to homeschooling my children.
Very good.
Which brings me
Now,
to my next.
go ahead.
I watched a movie last night called Compliance, which was the winner of the Sundance Film Festival in 2012. And that movie was outrageous. I cannot believe it was based on a true story. Have you ever seen that movie?
No, where'd you see it? It's on Netflix or something?
It was on Hulu.
Hulu.
Oh my gosh, it was absolutely ridiculous. The people will do anything in the presence of authority. And it was basically a guy who he had done 70 prank calls to different I think it was all fast food establishments, and singled out one woman, told the manager he was a police officer, and had them escort the one girl to the back room via phone call and instruct a man to do things to her under the
Like
under
frisk her
the,
and stuff, not
yep,
like it's
take her
not
clothes
like
off,
actual.
make her bend over. But it ended in rape for like most of the cases, I believe.
Holy
So,
crap!
yeah, but it's crazy how people will do anything when they believe that they have to comply, which is why I feel like America is probably just people are
Well, I
just
was
stupid.
on that just a little before you
Stupid.
came on. Now, I don't think
They'll do
I
anything.
well, no, I don't think you're right there. I think they'll do anything to somebody else. They won't do anything like because I was bringing it up with the case of D-Day. I don't think they will sacrifice their own lives, and they will do something like what
Right.
you're talking about. But in
Right.
the face of real evil, we don't trust anybody anymore to be saying that. Yeah, I trust the government enough to say that Adolf Hitler is really what they say he's going to be. So I'm not putting my life on the line for that. So I hear what you're saying. They will do something like that and take somebody else and take away their humanity and their rights and all that kind of stuff. But for myself, I'm not putting my own life on the line. I think it would be a hard thing to get troops to commit and fight like they did 78 years ago against real evil because they don't believe in any they don't believe it. They don't believe anything they're told from any sources. Question
I don't
everything.
believe anything I'm told from this government. I never will.
What's
Everything's
It's the
for
same
their own
government, I hate to
agenda.
tell you. It
Yeah.
was the same way then. We just didn't have social media to question everything. We didn't have all the, we
No.
didn't have all the different people. Because if you brought up any questions at that point in like 1944 when D-Day happened, you were anti-American. You were against not a good person, and you would be singled out. I
And
don't
so is
know. I don't.
Jesus. I don't believe that we should follow what everybody follows the crowd and everybody does what they're told and puts a mask on. It looks freaking ridiculous. I mean, people still do it, drive with their car with the mask on. And I'm just on a rant today. But
Yeah.
but I mean, it's ridiculous. People will do whatever they are told and they don't question anything, and they don't dig deeper, and they don't do their own research, and they turn on CNN and they turn on the News 12, and they just sit there and take everything in, and they're just mindless drones. And I feel like we're living in a society where people just they're just stupid. I mean, the stupidity out there is unmatched with any other generation. I really feel that way. Maybe in 1944 people were
No, I don't think that
right.
that's the case.
I
I don't think they
I
were
don't know.
smarter in 1944.
I don't know. You don't think
But
so?
no, no, I don't. I don't think they questioned anything in 1944, which is how we got brave young men and women to give up their lives so
Right.
easily and fight. So if they had questioned things, I think we might be having this conversation in German. Um, because I do think part of what it took to stand up to what was definitely real evil in hindsight was this ignorance of the people that were, and I don't mean to disrespect those who gave their lives in doing that, but they would not have done that if they lived in a world that we live in today where your eyes have been open to the lies and corruption in government and stuff.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, and I do think for the most part it's a bad thing that we didn't question stuff. But had we not, in those 78 years ago today, we'd be living in a very different world where
Yeah.
people like Hitler would have just run free and not been opposed at all. So I don't know what the answers are, but it's a very it's good for thought and conversation on. I don't think we'd be able to fight like we did without some level of ignorance. But that's what I got into some social media nonsense with a guy who posted a meme about
Meme.
uh, Schindler's List, and basically saying that if the Germans would have had guns, the Holocaust wouldn't have happened. I was like, no, you don't understand. That is so
Wait, what? Oh, if the Jewish people?
If the German people, the German people would have had guns, the Holocaust wouldn't have happened. Like, no, you're not. You're educated by memes. This is the problem. We're being
Memes.
educated by memes. Because the Jewish people, as a large, on the whole, supported the Nazi government and supported what they were doing to the Jews.
Mm-hmm.
And they weren't all German Jews. They were Polish Jews and Czechoslovakian Jews. So the Holocaust would have happened if the German people had guns.
Because they were slowly controlled. It was a very slow process, and that's what's happening. I'm not comparing it to what happened in the Holocaust, but it is what's happening slowly today, where people are just slowly, they're being fed terror. And then it's terror, and then it's calm, and it's terror, and it's calm, and there's these waves of news and these waves of stories, and that's what's happening back then. This propaganda, and these people really gave up their freedoms, thinking that it was for the best, right. And they were, and it's absolutely terrible. People need to research. They need to question. They need to understand that there are people in power who don't care about you, who are labeled as people in the government, and it's not. Right. It's happened before. Let's not let history repeat itself. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, a part of the thing is people look for what affects them in the moment. So if there are atrocities going on or bad things that are happening in the name of your government, as long as they make life better for you personally, mm-hmm. You're more apt to look the other way.
Right.
So basically, if your home costs and all that kind of stuff come down, and things are cheap, and you're being right. prosperous, hey, it's good times, and we don't notice the bad stuff as much, or we don't want to see it all. So.
Yeah. That's like with the vaccinations, when they were forced upon everybody and nobody had choice, and people like me lost their jobs, and there were people like my aunt and people in my family who I love very much, but took the jab because they didn't want to give up their personal freedoms, such as going to restaurants and traveling, and that's not right. Everybody needs to stand together. Nothing should be forced. Nothing should be mandated. Nothing should be mandatory. It should be everybody's personal choices, and people didn't want to give up their personal comforts and freedom. People didn't want to give up their personal comforts, and in essence, gave up their freedoms. And the government knows how far they could take it next time. So I think people need to really stand up for what they believe in, their sovereignty. I really think that it will get out of control because the government does know how far they can go, and they'll go a little further and a little further and a little further. I think you should watch that movie. I mean, it was really
Compliance.
Really compliance, yeah, just absolutely ridiculous.
Anybody famous in it or no? It's just it's like more like a documentary, or
it's this woman. I'm gonna say her name. I'm gonna botch her name. Hold on, let me find it. She was fun. It was funny. Never mind. I'm not going to say what I'm going to say. Dreama Walker and Ann Dowd and Patrick Healy.
Ann Dowd sounds familiar.
And I don't know who these people are. I mean, they were good actors. I thought they were really good. And it didn't look like an immature film. It looked really, it was good.
I don't think I have Hulu, but I'll look for it to see where it's available. So yeah, it is what it is. But you're talking about people standing together. We can't get two people to agree on anything. I mean, even if you're of the same basic ideology of somebody else, there's going to be issues that you disagree upon. And when those issues come up now, it's more like a do or die type of thing.
Yeah.
Like if we disagree on one little thing, it's going to be, the end of it. I don't know where we go from here. It's not kind of a gloomy attitude I have this morning. I don't want to have that, but this is a beautiful day out.
It's beautiful. You know my answer. Everybody needs Jesus. Everybody needs God. They need to know that they are not the the center of the universe. They too much lovers of self. Too many lovers of self.
Well,
I think people need to become.
not just to kind of counter that a little bit. When I had Dave the prophet on, Dave who was going to prove the existence of God, and I was trying to give him every chance to do that. We had a guy in the audience who, in the chat room, who said he was desperate. He needed help to get his medicines, get medical appointments, and everything. The people who stepped up were the atheists. The Christians in the crowd ignored him.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, that's the same as the Good Samaritan story.
Yeah.
Right. Like the priests and whoever were there left the man alone who was robbed on the side of the road, and the Good Samaritan helped.
Everyone in my family was vaccinated except for me, and they all got COVID a few times. I never had it. Well, I got COVID 3 times before I was vaccinated. I got it once after I was 4, so I've had it 4 times now. The first 3 times I got it, I didn't feel any symptoms at all, but I tested positive for it. After I was vaccinated and I got it, it knocked the fuck out of me. So
it's compromising their. Okay.
I don't know.
It's not. It's okay.
We don't know. We don't know that you can't draw cause and effect, but and we can't come to any scientific conclusions on that because there's no control group.
I don't understand why people got in line to take something that has not been tested. I don't understand why. I mean, people can do what they want. That's fine. But at the same time, I have a rule when something rolls out, something brand new and shiny. I have a 10-year rule. I'm not putting anything into my body unless it's been tested long term. Okay. And everybody I know who's been vaccinated has had COVID several times now. And that's not the point of a vaccine, right? This is a screwdriver. I'm sorry.
You're right.
So if it's not working, what did my family and friends put into their bodies? I want to know.
Right.
And then the people that I do know who have dropped dead, or who oh no, I'm getting a picture of a text message from this guy. I'll tell you. Anyway, and the people who I do know who have dropped dead or have myocarditis and all these heart conditions now, they're not being entered into the VAERS database system. They're not being treated as vaccine injuries. They're saying it's unrelated. So they're sweeping everything under the rug, the same as what they did with other medications and vaccines. So I'm very passionate about it. So maybe we should talk about it. But that's just that's for another day, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's fine.
Happy news.
Yeah. Wait, before you get to the happy news, do you want to talk about the dog thing? Do you still have the dog, or is the dog?
So I just got a text from the man. That's who that was. That just threw me off my rant.
Do they have the dog back, or you still have the dog?
Yes.
Oh, that's what they have the dog back.
Yes. He just texted me and said he's fine, and he wanted to send me a picture, and I think
that's good. So he's not mad at you at all, and doesn't.
I think he felt bad because of the way that I was just so bent out of shape. Did you tell the audience what happened?
No.
Okay. Quickly, I was sitting a dog. I was dog sitting, but went to a 4-hour gig with Matt and the 45s. And somebody left the back door open and the dog got loose. And so the whole time I was at the gig, the everybody in the apartment complex was chasing around this little dog, trying to get the dog back. And he was just running and playing and running and playing. This little sheepadoodle. He was a year and a half. He was like 20 pounds, cutest thing. So when I called on our break to see how everything was, Matt told me they can't get the dog back inside. And I was going to leave then, but I didn't think it would do any good by the time I got there. So I finished the gig, and one guy came up to me and said I looked like a deer in headlights, or I'd just seen a ghost. Because the whole time after that, I'm like,
How the hell do you even sing at that point? 'Cause
I really couldn't. I think I sang. I told Mike what happened, and he was like, "Oh, all right, sing 'Build Me Up, Buttercup.'" And I was like,
No, Mikey has no empathy, no
No.
understanding of what anybody else is going through ever.
No. It was very painful to finish the gig. I finished it. I got home, and at that point, the dog was gone.
Well, I just want to stop you there. If you would have told me that, I would have said, "Go home right now. Don't finish the gig." I would, But Mike said, Mike doesn't. He don't care about anything but himself. He really doesn't. I love the man, but he's the most self-centered person I've ever met or ever known. So anyway, you can finish the story now. But I would have told you to go home then. I would not have allowed you to finish the gig because I don't know how you could concentrate.
I couldn't concentrate.
Yeah,
there's no way.
I would have been totally nuts if I would get that call on a gig. I would have lost my mind. I would have been having a nervous breakdown, anxious, and super anxiety. Like
I got in my car and I prayed so hard because we live by the highway, and I was like, I cannot be responsible for this couple's misery that their dog got hit by a car. I was so upset. I was so distraught. I was like, what should I have done? Should I have locked the dog in the room and told everybody it's my responsibility? Don't play with the dog. Don't touch the dog when mommy's not home.
Yeah.
I mean, accidents happen. I yell about the screen door all the time because the cat gets out, but she's the neighborhood hoe and she likes to get out and flirt with all the male cats. Oh,
that's not good.
Yeah, she's a bad girl. She's trying to get out now. But anyway, so we all searched. I drove up and down the highways. I drove down the service roads. I drove everywhere but the other direction. And that's where the dog went. He went in the other direction. Some lady caught him and called the owner. And the owner called me and said, someone has my dog.
Wow.
And I broke down. I was so upset. I mean, obviously he was more upset, but I was just so apologetic, and I couldn't believe, I wasn't even there. If I don't know, I think he felt bad. And he sent me pictures of his dog and his dog like running through the yard, and he's okay. And I just want you to know he's okay. And so
I would have lost my mind. Definitely would have lost my mind with that, without a doubt. I know me, and I would not have. I've not handled it at all. I would have been really abusive to my wife if she would have lost a dog that I was supposed to be responsible for. I would have come home, and it probably would have ended up in divorce and all kinds.
I really had to bite my tongue. I'm Italian and from New York, so it's hard. And I was trying so hard not to scream. But my children were running around unsupervised throughout the complex because Matt was too busy looking for the dog. So there was no way for me to remain calm at that time.
Right.
Yeah. It was it was a very traumatic experience. And the company rover.com reached out to me and wanted to see if there was anything they could do, but I don't at this point.
So is the dog making its way back to its house I suspected?
No, I thought it was going to go. It went the wrong way. This dog has no sense of direction. I was driving to where the town and where the owner, because they don't.
Stupid dog.
I know. They don't give out the real address, just the town where the owner's in. So I'm driving around the town screaming this dog's name, looking in the trenches because if a dog gets hit by the car, they're gonna hide. I'm looking in the trenches along the, hours.
Wow.
I'm so thankful. Thank God he was found and he was unharmed. But at this point,
So there's your happy news right there. The dog, everything worked out. The owner seems to have forgiven you.
thank God. But at this point, I don't know if I could watch anything more than a cat, someone else's cat or bird in a cage, because I can't take that responsibility. There's no fence here. This is not a fenced in yard. I'm always open and honest and tell everybody there is no fenced in yard. I think moving forward, I'll just have to interview the owners and say, does your dog have a tendency of running? Because I cannot take that responsibility.
Yeah. All I can
right now
relate to on this, and it doesn't look like my guest is going to show, and that's probably fine too. But the only thing I can relate to this, when my son was 3.5 years old, my sister-in-law was babysitting for him. My wife was out working, and I was out gigging. And my son put his hand on the stove and burnt his hand really bad.
Oh my gosh.
And
Wow.
she felt terrible about it. And my instinct was to get mad. But listen, I'm out on a gig. I blame myself for being out on the gig, but I was mad at her. But at some point, you have to kind of say, maybe she's learned her lesson. Maybe I've learned our lesson. And we'll never let this happen again. That was a terrible thing. My son, 3.5 years old, burnt his hand really bad.
God.
And we were sleeping with his hand in a thing full of water, going ow, 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 in his sleep. But eventually, she loved him, and she babysat for him again not long after that. But it took a little while to kind of say, develop that trust and say, you know what, let's make sure he's not playing by the stove by himself and all that kind of stuff. So I think you'll have more dogs to sit eventually. It takes time. Time does heal wounds in some way. So that should be enough happy news for us all, that the dog made it back, that you seem to be forgiven, that the guy seems to be happy that his dog's back and kind of
praise God. Oh my gosh, praise God.
So do you want to talk about other happy news, or is that enough for us?
I have something funny. I thought it was
not the FedEx guy or the guy the Florida man.
No. No.
Okay.
That is funny too. I laugh. This is from UPI. A music teacher plays the trombone to scare a bear away from school.
I was thinking about bears just before the show this morning, but go ahead.
A British Columbia music teacher who saw a bear lurking outside the school where he works managed to drive the animal away by playing the trombone. I'm assuming horribly.
Maybe not.
The music teacher said he was alerted to the presence of a bear sniffing around the wooden structure that houses the trash cans. Another teacher attempted to scare the bear away by banging on a door. And this is a quote from him. I thought, well, I could do better than that, and reached for my trombone and went out.
Yeah, no, I could see how a bear would be frightened by that, especially loud. And I don't think it would have to be horrible, just really loud and kind of, playing maybe a lot of glissando notes going back and forth and stuff. That would definitely freak a bear out.
I mean, if the bear attacked him while he was playing the trombone, that I would laugh a little bit.
I wouldn't.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, how he's so brave, I guess.
I saw a video of a moose chasing a bear, and the moose and the bear was running for its life. And I was thinking, what would the moose do if it caught the bear? Because you don't want to fight a bear, even if you're a moose. A bear can do a lot of damage to you. What are you going to do if you catch him? But it was curious. He was chasing this, and the bear was running for its life. It's like, do you forget you're a bear? I mean, I know a moose is big. I know a moose.
Moose. Is it mooses? Moose are big. They are. Yeah. They look cute, but they are so scary.
But I never thought of them as aggressive either, though. So to say I mean, are they meat eaters? Do they eat bear?
I just know they're very territorial, and if I saw a moose out in the wilderness, I don't know
That's
if
what
I
I
would,
was
I don't
thinking
know,
too.
run or stand still or hide. I
I
don't
was
know.
thinking
They're
maybe the bear
scary.
was attacking a baby moose, and this was a
Yeah,
mother moose saying, "You know
probably
what?
mother moose or a
Yeah.
male moose in mating season. Like, you're not going to mate with my moose, lady.
Oh,
Something
okay.
like that. Yeah, it's my moose impression.
You seem to be very moose informed.
Yes, I am a moose expert in all things moose.
Uh, well, those are
Meese.
the bare necessities for happy news this morning. I appreciate that. I'll let you go. I don't think my guest is showing. I'm having a lot of this lately. Yeah, people schedule shows and then don't show up. But anyway, well, maybe we'll see you in the bottom of the half hour if I'm still here and you want to come back and more happy news. See you later. Bye.
Goodbye.
Strong heads. They have very strong heads. They could toss a bear with a nod of a head. Yeah, I guess if it's a small enough bear. I know they're huge. I know mooses are huge, and I know they're very strong and powerful. But a bear is not. Bear's not a human. It's not like it's not a lightweight thing. And bears can be several hundred pounds. I guess. But I don't know what exactly would the outcome be if the moose had caught the bear. I don't know. I'm gonna see if I can contact Gotham Sharma, who was supposed to be my guest this morning, who doesn't seem to be showing up. Could have opened the phone lines, but I didn't. Um, where are you, Gotham? Gotham is an unusual name. I wanted to talk to him about that, and also get some um, information on his career and what he seems to be doing. Because he's a local guy. Brooklyn is kind of local for me. It's about 100 miles, but that's as local as it gets around here. Um, I'm gonna have to remind these people the night before and find out if they're coming on. Actually, I have a memory celebrate on just because I'm on Facebook where I contact him and I see my memories have come up, and I have June 6th D-Day, June 6th, 1944 remembrance on my um, memories coming up. So obviously, it was something that people were talking about, but on years gone by, it doesn't seem to be this year. I'm not seeing anything about it in the news or on social media other than my own memories of it. And I think that's a shame. I'm just looking through my memories now because that came up today. 3 years ago today, Dr. John passed. Dr. John, great. A New Orleans pianist, musician, songwriter. Who I actually had the pleasure of meeting and playing with one time. So uh, interesting, just an interesting fact. Uh, yeah, it definitely would be a great fight to watch. Doesn't look like Gotham. Cool name. Is going to be showing up. He's not replying to me, and he's not online. So don't know what else I can do to help manifest his appearance here today, which is a shame. That's a damn shame for him as well as for my audience and people who tune in the morning to kind of um, laugh a little and get to know new comedians and all that kind of stuff. So, um, but we must carry on, don't we? We must carry on. Um, it's strange to me that all of a sudden I'm getting friend requests. I mean, all of a sudden in the last 5 days or so, like probably be 10 or 20 friend requests on Facebook from comedians every single day, which is, that's never happened before. And I'm wondering why am I being shown as a recommendation all of a sudden to a lot more comedians? I don't know, but it happened all of a sudden. It would be one thing if it just happened over time, gradually. But all of a sudden makes me curious, like what happened? There's something changed. There was a significant change. Carl I don't know what he's going through. He was on Twitter, and I just happened to check it at 1 a.m. Saturday night, Sunday morning. And Carl said he said something about help in a private chat. Now I put up a bunch of question marks, and didn't check it until I woke up yesterday morning, and apparently he sent me a link. He wanted to have a StreamYard kind of powwow, and then I haven't heard from him again since. So I'm a little concerned about my friend Carl, who I can say here he's in Brazil, which it seems like the life of Riley. What a great place to be, and what a great place to have a good time. But it did seem upset and or needing to talk, and I wasn't there for him because I didn't see it. And then I haven't heard from him again since. So I'm a little concerned about that. My friend Ralph, aka the boss, you know Ralph. I've called him several times on this program. He is shooting a I don't know if it's a pilot for a series. Um, it's a mob story. Um, he has written it and he's directed it. Now he's never directed anything in his life before. But the show is called The Family. He wrote the script for it, and again, he's directing it, and he's putting out casting calls for it. And currently, I'm just trying to find out the one. He needs a woman between 20 and 30 years old. It's a small part, but an important part in this role that he's in this film that he's pilot that he's shooting. Woman 20 to 30 years old with an Eastern European accent. If we know anybody like that who's on the East Coast who wants to be involved in a project like that, put them in touch with me. I'll put them in touch with Ralph, or um, we'll make it happen somehow or another. But this is something I don't recommend to anybody. Uh, if you write a piece, write a script, I would not recommend producing it and directing it on your own. You need help. And I say that as a person who always needs help, but rarely gets any in collaboration on music, and end up having to do music by myself. But it's not the preferred way. But music, doing a song, recording a song, playing all the instruments and stuff like that, as much as I'd like to have other collaborators work on stuff with me, and whatever reasons that doesn't ever, it becomes impractical. It's much easier to do music by yourself than it is to do a film. And I think a lot of people who, especially people who think, well, all I need is the equipment. And it's not that simple. You need to know how to tell a story. You need to know how to frame shots. You need to know lighting. You need to know sound. You need to know so many things. And you need to know when you have the piece, when you got the scene that you've intended to shoot correctly, so that you don't have hours and hours of garbage to eliminate in the editing process. There's so much that you have to know for film. And to do a film by yourself, especially if you have no training in it and have not done it before, don't do it by yourself. Find a cinematographer. And I know this is difficult, finding people to work with a no budget, low budget production. Getting quality people to work on, getting them to buy into it is not going to be a simple thing. But I promise you that you're not going to be happy with the final result if you direct it, shoot it, produce it, write the script, and act in it. All that stuff for your first endeavor. This is why you see the people who do that, the Clint Eastwoods, the people who start, who end up being directors, actors, and whatever in their own films. They didn't start out that way. They spent 30 years as an actor before their first directorial thing, and they're not producing it. Still, they have a producer, and they have lots and lots of help on it. Quentin Tarantino, who put himself in Pulp Fiction. That wasn't his first movie, and he had lots of help. That wasn't him doing it all by himself. Don't do it by yourself. And I'm seeing too many people take it lightly and end up with projects that never get finished or projects they're extremely disappointed in and not something they'd be proud enough to even show or even get into a festival and everything. So, and I know we don't have as many filmmakers as I did when I was pretty much interviewing filmmakers once a week or twice a week on the Mind Dog TV podcast. But we still have some people interested in making films and some people in the business. And I'm just saying to those people, collaboration is a difficult thing to find the right people, but it's definitely worth it. And um, if you try to go it alone, I promise you, and if you don't have the experience and time put in the industry, and you try to go it alone, you're going to be severely disappointed in the outcome. You're probably never going to show it to anybody. That's that soapbox. Anyway, I might as well play a commercial here while I'm going to try to contact Gotham one more time. Today's show has been brought to you by Koa Coffee. Not my favorite show today, I have to admit. It's a Monday, and I am excited about this week. Let me tell you about the week um, before I go on and play the commercial. I had a lot of shows this week. Monday, daily shows every day of the week, obviously. Tomorrow, Muriel Gosher will be with me, Bay Area comedian. Tonight, I have Pat Daly, who's an author of a book called Spark. Then tomorrow night, Randy Lee Bauslaff is another author who will be with me tomorrow night. Then Wednesday, I have Jackie Martling in the morning. Jackie the Joke Man Martling will be back with me. And Wednesday evening, Matt Farley, who is Motown Media. He's the world's most prolific songwriter and filmmaker. Believe he's got, as of now, probably around 27,000 songs recorded. He's the poop guy and the state guy and the name guy, happy birthday guy. He's got lots of novelty songs, but he does them in quantity. He's a good friend of our friend Brendan Walsh. And I'm just gonna, probe into his whole process and how he became this entrepreneur in the music business and creating so many. Because even though it's kind of templated out, the whole idea of just pumping out music like that, and he makes a very good living at it. Again, he's an entrepreneur doing what he loves to do in creative stuff, film and song. And he is a guy who is basically in charge of everything he does, but he gets help. He does collaborate with other people. Maybe not so much again on the music stuff. The music stuff is easier. It can be done in music to create songs by yourself. Films, quality films, no, not so much. All by yourself, you need some help. But Matt Farley is a guy who he spends his whole life in the creative process. He'll be with me Wednesday night at 8 p.m. And talk to him a little bit about his connection to the comedy world, because he does have a lot of comedian friends in common with us. So that would be good. Then on Thursday morning, Mike Vanderveen will be with me, another comic. He's a New York comic. And Thursday night, psychic medium, Annie Larson will be back with me. She's been with me before. She was scheduled to be on, I think, sometime in April, and had to postpone. She was been on a trip. But Thursday night at 8 p.m., that's prime time. And this Thursday night, um, and I'm drifting back into politics here just for the moment of talking about this. The January 6th committee is holding televised public hearings in prime time Thursday night. At the time, I'll be interviewing Annie. Now, she's a personal psychic medium. and she makes her living and spends her time giving people insights into their own lives. I it'll be curious because she knows I am uh, pretty much skeptical on a lot of these things. Open-minded skeptic, but all skeptics are open-minded. Cynics are not open-minded. But the idea that I will allow considering some of this stuff, but I also, on some level, want to test it. So with this January 6th thing going on in prime time while I'll be talking to her, it would be good to see if I could get some predictions about what they're going to be saying and what, give me some news that will come out of this thing. If you can, predict something that is going on right now that you and I are not watching. Probably a lot of people around the country are watching. Tell me, give me some insight from your impressions on what's going on. Again, that's the part of me who feels like I should be testing some of this. And then Joseph Anthony, I believe he's from New Jersey, comedian, will be with me on Friday morning at 10 a.m. And so that's a week. A lot of shows this week. 9 shows this week. It feels like back to the old days when I was doing 14 shows a week. But so I'm looking forward to that. And then gigging straight through the weekend, like I did this weekend, and then back at it the following Monday. Actually, Sunday night I'll have one. Morgan Quaid from Australia, who's another author. Sunday night at 8 p.m. It'll be Monday morning her time. I think probably 10 a.m. her time. So looking for a a, a very eventful packed schedule for me for the next almost this entire month. Looking like 2 shows a day every day, 5 days a week, and then gigging on the weekend. So it's very full time for me. Not that there's anything wrong with it. The more I keep myself occupied, the happier I am. But that's a look at the week ahead. Now, as I mentioned, today's show is brought to you by Koa Coffee. Koa Coffee, you know about Koa Coffee, and you know about what I think about Koa Coffee. It's the best coffee in the whole damn world. That's what it is. Koa Coffee, get yours. This episode is brought to you by Koa Coffee. If you are a coffee connoisseur and want to experience the best coffee Hawaii has to offer, no blends, no compromise, try the true taste of aloha. Koa Coffee produces premium Hawaiian coffee, hand-picked, expertly roasted, and delivered from Hawaii to your door with aloha. From award-winning 100% Kona coffee grown on the slopes of the Mauna Loa volcano to the unique mocha beans of Maui, they strive to provide their loyal customers with the best quality and freshness. Since 1997, Koa Coffee has been known far and wide as a product of utmost quality, and their awards prove it. Koa Coffee was featured in Forbes' Top 10 Coffees of the World. This is the coffee Forbes called the best coffee in America. Find out what it's all about. Go to minddogtv.com/coffee. minddogtv.com/coffee. Or there's a link in the description you can click on. Get your Koa Coffee. Hello, look back at me. There you go. All right. How are you? Good to see you. Keep running. Yeah, Gotham seems to be blowing me off. You know what? Comedians, they're unreliable. They're as unreliable as musicians, but that's the way it goes. All the other comedians for this week have chimed in and basically said they got the link. Gotham doesn't seem to be responding, so I'm just going to say that he's probably blown me off here and not coming. Anyway, I'm just contacting him one last time here to say looks. Anyway, so that's it today. D-Day, remember D-Day, and I was going to keep it in your minds. Don't let the memories of the honor of what happened on this day slip from your minds because again, not to, and I guess I am getting on a soapbox here, but The sacrifices made on that day 78 years ago today changed the world we live in. And maybe you're not happy with the world we live in, but I promise you, had it not been for the sacrifices of those young people in horrific, again, it's not enough to just understand the word D-Day and what happened on that day. You got to really put yourself in the mindset of the people, young people, 18 and 19 years old, and the sacrifices they made, and what it might have been like for those people, and what it means to you and I today. Probably would not be here right now, and probably you would not be here right now. If we are the same, if we would be the same people, we'd probably be speaking German, and that's not an exaggeration to say that. So the world changed for the better, I think, because of the sacrifices of young men and women, mostly men on that day, unfortunately, just to say it that way, but mostly young men giving their lives on the beaches of Normandy, 78 years ago today. And again, it's not enough to just know that they did that. You really almost have to kind of mentally experience it. Being on those amphibious boats, landing on a beach that you're getting bombed at. There's well-fortified beaches. The Nazis had all those beaches completely well-fortified with artillery and troops watching the beaches and just picking people off as they came off the boat. So you're basically several hundred feet out into the ocean, jumping off a boat into cold, frigid, rough waters, very rough waters. And if you've never swam in the ocean and don't know what the experience of being jumping into some rough water is, you should try it sometime just to experience that now, and then think about how it would be to have 50 pounds of gear on your back and a rifle in your hands and bullets flying all around you, artillery bursts all around you, friends getting blown to bits, and you're still jumping off the boat and continuing towards the beach. And as you continue towards the beach, you see people dropping like flies, getting picked off by bullets left and right, all around you, and you're still moving forward for the cause of freeing the world from Nazi occupation. And so you're committed to that cause, no matter what happens. Seeing people you love, people you're close to, getting torn apart by bullets, you're still moving forward. It's important to keep that in mind, and the sacrifices and the really heroism of the young men who gave their lives on this day. Can't take it for granted. Can't forget about it. Can't afford to forget about it. But of course, the news cycle has so much other bullshit for us to talk about. We're still talking about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, for Christ's sakes. So if I can influence you to do anything, it's keep this day in mind. Honor those who incredible bravery. You might say ignorance play, and I already have said that it was a different time. In today's world, I don't think we could ever have that kind of act of heroism, because it took trust. Took trust in your government, took trust in understanding that you were fighting evil because people told you were. In today's world, we'd have too many people saying, wait a minute, let's stop and think about what we're doing here, and questioning, and do we really trust our government saying this is what's really happening? So I'm not sure that we could have that kind of heroism today. It's important to remember that stuff. I think I'm going to end the program here today because my guest has not shown up. I appreciate everybody who stopped by, and I'll promise you to have a better show tomorrow. That's all we can do. Anyway, thanks for coming. Remember to turn on your radio.
Turn on the radio. to me, listen to me, listen to me now. Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me now.